Hello and welcome to my Findings and Implications digital presentation as part of our final presentation for the Communicating Mindfully course. My name is Colton Hollowbook, and today I will be presenting on the value of communication responsiveness in a professional and business setting, and I will be using a case example to help provide support and visualization to the research. As a young professional with a breadth of experience in various professional settings across many disciplines, I have experienced the value of communication responsiveness. Communication responsiveness is defined by the test of direction and change in an increasingly competitive marketplace, which is defined by Arnett, Fritz, and Bell. So often, the market in which your product or service exists for changes and requires communication responsiveness to various extents in order to survive and thrive as an organization. In addition to a change in the specific market, an organization can find value in utilizing responsiveness to societal changes to illuminate a brand in regard to ethics and authenticity. The purpose of this case study will be to provide professionals several strategies to enhance their communication responsiveness tactics in order to enhance their organization's survivability, adaptability, and reputation throughout the ever-changing marketplace that exists today, as evidenced through an example of Olympus and their colonoscopy products. Communication responsiveness is a crucial component for fluidity in any organization to ensure organizational longevity and increased success, as evidenced by the following communication ethics problem. The business area where I am employed would not exist today if people were choosing to not get a colonoscopy. These procedures are performed every day across the globe, and while we are gracious of those who are proactive in their health, we cannot be ignorant to the fact that there are various societal circumstances that are preventing individuals from being screened early on when the disease is most treatable if diagnosed. An article in the New York Times sheds light onto some of the specific reasons that have created this ethical problem for our company. The number one reason for not scheduling a colonoscopy after reaching the recommended age for screening was fear. They felt fearful not just because of what they might find out from the test results, but because of the bowel preparation and the procedure itself. Other reasons why people delayed screening included not having enough time, not having good enough insurance coverage, procrastinating, or just generally being squeamish. As you may have noted, the respondents' various reasons for not getting a colonoscopy are very timely, meaning that these answers and their frequency vary throughout history and will continue to evolve in the future. This provides companies such as Olympus with the challenge of constantly having to monitor the market trends and adapt their business practices. The same type of marketing that was done 50 years ago to persuade people to get a colonoscopy will not be as effective in today's market. A solution to this communication ethics problem is needed in order to ensure our company remains a strong competitive lead in the market and can ensure success and longevity for the future. As stated in our course text, the key to keeping a profit or nonprofit company alive is responsiveness, defined by the test of direction and change in an increasingly competitive marketplace. Research shows us that there are numerous tactics and techniques that come into play when trying to identify what needs to be responded to and how the organization and its resources can best meet that need. Exposure to this research is the first step into a positive direction to achieve success in this field of study. Through this, Olympus will be able to combat its issue losing colonoscopy customers by responding to the identified patterns which dissuade individuals from doing so. It is no question that our organization must remain as ethical and compliant as possible if we wish to preserve the longevity of our business. Without this positive image, the public will not take our advice to get a colonoscopy seriously. The responsiveness of an organization has the capacity to aid in this crucial aspect of every business. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR for short, is the continuing commitment by businesses to contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as the community and society at large. CSR departments are found increasingly higher in organizations today, and their efforts are heavily focused on communication responsiveness. Research in the realm of corporate social responsibility is helpful to us as we validate the value of communication responsiveness in organizations. One of the most evident stimuli that organizations can respond to are societal occurrences. Activities stemming from corporate social responsiveness take place in response to community demands rather than premised on a sense of moral responsibility, sometimes implied by responsibility. In sum, this means that an organization's corporate social responsibility initiatives are to meet various identified needs within a given community. As stated in the findings section, a significant portion of our market views colonoscopy as a scary procedure. By identifying this need, we can respond with various CSR actions to satisfy that need. When these needs are addressed through any type of CSR activity, the company has responded through a communication responsiveness approach that allows the public to view their involvement with the community and categorize that organization based on its CSR actions. By following this logic, Olympus can leverage the power of CSR to help the public understand that what is scarier than a colonoscopy is undiagnosed colon cancer. Another major influence that an organization's communication responsiveness efforts are impacted by are its stakeholders. Stakeholders at Olympus, specific to the topic of colonoscopies, include physicians, surgeons, customers, shareholders, employees, etc. Similar to an organization's responsiveness to societal factors, CSR efforts can also target these particular groups of individuals that have the capacity to impact organizational operations. In this regard, a stakeholder holds a lot of power. Relevant stakeholders change throughout a company's existence, and their demands are varied and often incompatible due to contrasting worldviews. However, when a stakeholder does have influence over a company's performance, the company must respond as an opportunity to preserve and/or promote its brand. For example, if the medical community had an issue with our colonoscopy scopes, we must satisfy their issues immediately. If we do not have the approval of our physicians, then they will never persuade their patients to have a colonoscopy using one of our scopes. Here, we can see that the more a group can impact corporate operating parameters, the more potent its demands appear in the eye of corporate management. This highlights not only the major influence our stakeholders pose, but also stresses how much leverage we can utilize to make progressive, significant changes through communication responsiveness. Continuing this conversation, Hilliard reminds us how research has pointed us in the direction that corporate behavior should not be judged and assessed by the decisions that were actually reached, but rather the process by which they were reached. Through the combination of both communication responsiveness, corporate social responsibility initiatives, and this idea, leaders should be aiming to question and enhance on how they carry out specific practices. Olympus can assess the synergy of our results, understanding the roles of each employee and stakeholder, and how they intertwine and interconnect to land us at our end result. Having this understanding will better equip organizational leaders to make accurate decisions and best articulate their initiatives. Of course, it is much easier said than done. The central dilemma for managers is how to respond to changing societal circumstances which redesign the business landscape. To combat this dilemma, research urges leaders to create new responsibilities for the firm unless they deem it is more fit to reinforce existing responsibilities. In addition, research also suggests that the development of new programs and internal processes has the capacity to respond to these articulated responsibilities. By turning this research into action items, we as a company are able to resolve the communication ethics problem of individuals being too fearful to reach out and get a colonoscopy. As demonstrated in this case, the practice of communication responsiveness can serve of significant value and benefit to those who choose to engage in it. Olympus has the capacity to combat societal fear towards colonoscopies with communication responsive practices. Research in the field suggests that society and stakeholders are very telling of what demands and needs exist, requiring an organization to respond through responsiveness in order to reap the value and benefits that this process poses on the organization. The decision on how to respond must be made in alignment with other ongoing values that the organization is simultaneously working to uphold. Just as meeting needs can help to illuminate an organization's brand, The active decision to not meet a need can also be very telling of an organization. To conclude, I believe that the practice of communication responsiveness can serve as a valuable tool for Olympus to send strong brand messages and persuade more individuals to get screened for colonoscopies at the recommended time. In order to combat the fear of colonoscopies in the eyes of the public, all parties involved in the process of our devices being of service to our customers must play a role in communication responsiveness measures. To start, our marketing corporate colleagues need to increase their market testing efforts within the realm of public testing to ensure that we have the latest data that indicates what perception patterns exist towards colonoscopies. As we continue to identify these perceptions, our colleagues in communication and public relations need to combat any negative perceptions with factual campaigns and other message delivery tactics to ensure that no one in the public is suffering of unjustified fear. This will help to tackle the communication ethics problem as mentioned within the findings section of this presentation. In addition to our corporate colleagues' efforts, there are other parties who need to be involved in communication responsiveness. Our physicians and surgeons need to have a consistent and continuous open dialogue about their expectations with our products. Through this, we can correct any issues quick and efficiently to ensure that those who use our products on our patients will always talk about our company with positivity. With our physicians and surgeons' trust, they can help our corporate colleagues to articulate the message that our products are top of the line and that this should promote a feeling of safety before it does of fear. When looking at the implications of this research in our case study, I believe the conversation is twofold. First, as the amount of organizations who engage in communication responsiveness practices increases, I believe that the amount of creativity that goes into these practices will simultaneously have to increase. A question that leadership must ask is how can their responsiveness stand out amongst their competitors in order to preserve and protect the company's good of diagnosing colon cancer early on with as many people as possible. Secondly, if no one works on the problem situation, then we risk the spread of fear and other various reasons for delaying a colonoscopy through everyone else's network. One friend tells her friend who tells another friend, and now we have 3 individuals who are afraid to become and get their colonoscopy. Olympus can prevent the spread of this information through communication responsiveness. Without this practice, the problem situation will more than likely become an even greater problem as time progresses. This not only hurts our company's success, but puts the company's longevity at risk. This case study provides research which validates the value of communication responsiveness within a professional and business setting, as evidenced by the Olympus example and their colonoscopy products. As the need for our audience and the public to experience these responsive initiatives increases, so does the need for organizations to engage in order to ensure success and longevity. In addition to what we had previously discussed in this space, I believe that additional research should be conducted in 3 main areas. First, I believe that best practices must be identified for identifying needs within the community, so that Olympus can always understand why the public delays colonoscopy testing. Secondly, best practices for communication responsiveness, so that Olympus can respond as productively as possible to avoid plateauing in their practices. And then finally, best practices for assessing communication responsiveness success, so that Olympus is able to learn from its past and adjust its plans to change for the future tactics accordingly. As time changes, so does our audience and the public's needs. I would like to constantly see research being conducted in these 3 spaces so that we can be best prepared to do our work within the current time frame. Without a rich and diverse understanding of communication responsiveness, I am concerned that organizations will plateau in their success and abandon these techniques that can serve of tremendous value to an organization when applied appropriately. Thank you so much for your time and attentiveness to my presentation. It has been an absolute pleasure to provide this research and relate it to an organization that I am most passionate about. Feel free to email me with any questions or comments. I am happy to respond. Thanks again, and please refer to the references you see now for additional information. Thanks and have a great day.